Welcome to When the Moment Chooses You. I am your host, Coach Charlene, and I am excited to have my sister back, Miss Andrea. How you doing, Dr. Andrea?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking me back. What an honor and a privilege.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So, okay, you know me and my dreams and my innovative ideas. I decided that for Nurses Week that I wanted to do something on caring science because it has been such an impact in my professional career and in my life. And so that's kind of what this whole week is about. So for Nurses Week, first of all, happy Nurses Week to all of our nurses out there,
Mhm.
making a difference, touching lives every day that you show up. But we just really celebrate and honor you. But I wanted to talk about caring science because it was so impactful for me, and I've seen so many people transformed and systems transformed from the inside out. So welcome back. So let's talk about it a little bit, Andrea. So thank you again for taking the time to come back because this girl right here is retired. And so tell us who you are for those that don't know you, and then let's jump into the conversation.
Okay. I'm Dr. Andrea Hall Miller, born and raised in Santa Rosa, California. I still live very close to there now. And I've been a nurse for over 40 years and spent over 34 years of those with Kaiser. Just retired in January 2nd, and launched my business called Lit Nurse. And I called it Lit Nurse because my favorite things in nursing were the literary things and literacy. So I'm teaching classes and workshops and even doing some one-on-one in the disciplines of caring science, heart math, and pain reprocessing therapy. I'm also writing books. I'm on my third one. I'm on my last chapter of my third one, I think, unless I get in there and start when I get in there and start fixing up my rough draft and adding more. But I am doing that, and other people are sending me their books to edit now too. So I've been busy. I'm
Okay,
also
that's
the director of the North Bay Black Chamber of Commerce now too. So I get quite a bit of work from that. So
that is
although I'm
awesome.
retired from Kaiser, I am working from home. It's not like I'm not working.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt about that
I love
because
it
you
though.
are.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you look
in my
amazing.
home.
Just to let you know,
Oh,
you
thank
look
you.
amazing.
Same to you.
So tell me about your journey, Andrea. That's how we kind of connected. I think we've known each other for a little while, but I'd love to know how you were introduced to caring science, and then just share with us your story of the
Okay.
impact.
In 2009, Dr. Watson came to Santa Rosa to a hotel to introduce the Kaiser Santa Rosa Patient Care Services team to Watson's Caring Science. And she also brought Robert Browning, which now we know makes a lot of sense, right? Because
Yes.
he taught heart math. They taught together, and you can't really separate caring science and heart math, or really any of those mind, body, spirit, holistic health type of things, because we're all dealing with the same thing. So I was so excited. I was ridiculously excited to be able to bring my whole self, mind, body, and spirit to work. Whereas before, when I had started decades before, we couldn't talk about spirituality or religion at work. It was very well frowned upon, or very much frowned upon. But this gave us the license, the permission to be our whole self, mind, body, and spirit. I was so excited that I actually put out a Facebook post at lunchtime. It's at a beautiful hotel, the Hyatt, and I'm looking out over the water and I'm talking about how excellent my organization is, how we are just so ahead of our time and all this. And then I went back and took the first course, and then nothing happened for like 10
Mhm.
years. And I think the problem is the person that they had roll it out was not the right person. She's a
Yeah.
wonderful person, a director, but she directed very well, but she didn't demonstrate that loving, caring science,
Yeah.
caritas spirit at all.
Right.
So I thought we weren't doing it. I never saw, and I was an educator at the time. I should have received some, received the information about classes, right?
Yeah.
Nothing for 10 years. And then Vicky Losi, our chief nurse exec, and my manager at the time, Lupita, they invited me to do this Voice of Nursing seminar. So I went with them and I did that. And one of the questions was, what do you think is missing in nursing? And I wrote spiritual care. We need to focus on the whole person, mind, body, and spirit, rather just their physical stuff. and they loved it. They asked me to elaborate on it, to write something. I collaborated with our chaplains at the time, and I thought it was going to be a whole separate thing. But then, come to find out, we already had the foundation. So they sent me to
Yes.
Colorado to become a Caritas coach, and right after that, a heart math coach, heart math trainer. So I went back and I was talking to one of the chaplains about it. He says, "Oh, we meet once a month on the third Wednesday." I'm like, nobody knows. How, can I come to the meeting?
I know. Hey, let me
Yeah, you guys are
in.
meeting and nobody knows about it. So that was my first thing, was to go in and say, "This is too great to keep to yourselves." My pastor at church used to say, "This is not just for us four and no more." When we
Yeah.
y'all need to bring people in.
That's awesome.
So we started, and they gave me a really special project, which I'll talk about later because I see one of the questions has to do with that. But it was the Tea for the Soul project that they gave me, and they sent me to the um, clinical pastoral education program so that I could. Oh, I skipped. I became a volunteer for our spiritual care team during that time.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
And they
wow.
said, so we want you to have a little more of the clinical chaplaincy under your belt. And that's why they sent me to that school at the San Francisco Theological Seminary to come back and assist them with the spiritual care team.
Oh, that's
So, and
awesome.
in that, they gave me that special project called Tea for the Soul.
Okay, so now since you talked about Tea for the Soul, can you tell us a little bit more about that while we're
I
here?
will while you're here. So it was a project where it was before the pandemic, and the chaplains provided me with this big, I guess it's called like a tea tray for people who give teas. And
Hmm.
so they bought me all kinds of flavors of teas and cookies and candles, and they brought in their fabrics. Like Michael Kobina, he's from Ghana. He brought all kinds of African fabrics. um, the other one, Raymond Doherty, he's from Sebastopol. So he brought all these kind of like hippie, like wind chime type of things for it. And we had little candies. And what we did was we'd have pop up tea for the soul. So we would go to different floors. It might be, and we did have a little pattern. So it might be the ICU and the next maternal child, then Med Surge 3 West, Med Surge 4 West, and bounced it around so that we were on the floor of every department. And we would take those wraps, those African wraps, and the sort of like hippie wraps, for lack of a better term, and we'd cover the walls with it. And we'd cover the equipment in the patient room. So we actually would transform a patient room. We'd have the little scented, not scented candles. We'd have the little light ones, little tea
Okay,
lights.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the scent did come from one of our Caritas coaches who was a Reiki master, and she did hand massage, and she
Mm.
would use lavender lotion. So our room would smell like lavender. She'd make sure that people weren't sensitive to it. And she'd do that. We'd put on the Caring channel
Yeah.
and have that music and the waterfalls and everything flowing. And it really was a transformation. And we invite people in, we call it a 3-minute cup of tea. It wasn't an additional break at all. We had permission from our chief nurse exec to pull people in for 3 minutes or so, just to sit, pray, meditate, have a cup of tea, eat a cookie, whatever they wanted to do. It was so wonderful. Sometimes people would come in and just like testify. Somebody might ask for prayer. Somebody just might want to sit there and cry. We had all the little Caritas cards and everything for people. And it was just a really beautiful time. It was my favorite thing when
It
we only
sounds
stopped.
amazing.
I
And
love it. I write about it in one of my books. It's part of my fiction book that she leads these things or participates in these things. And Dr. Watson gave me permission to do that.
yeah, that's super awesome because I think about like when we think about authentic presence and
Hmm.
pausing and really practicing it ourselves. And it's really just trying to get nurses and healthcare workers to pause for a minute. And that 3 minutes of power
Hmm.
that you guys did is so phenomenal. So tell me about this, Andrea, because we've heard from some that, I mean, especially when you're at the bedside, it's like too busy to do anything. I'm just too busy to do that. What would you say to a nurse that says, you know what, I'm just too busy. I got too much to do.
So
Um,
often I heard that, and I would say that means you really need to come out. So who's break relief today? Let's get them to take over for you for a few minutes. You just come in for 3 minutes.
Yes.
You just sit down. And they really liked that. So at first, some of them would push back and say, no, that's nonsense. But the ones that did really appreciated it. And it helped them because then you go back renewed, you fill your cup
Yes.
up again and go back out. So for them, it's particularly important to stop and rest and regroup and
Yeah,
remember while you're there.
exactly. So how do you maintain that sense of connection in the face of challenges, such as time constraints and such as, you do have multiple tasks to do, but what would you say to that as far as authentic connections are concerned?
I'd say I must. It's not how can I fit it in, but I must fit it in if I'm
I
going to be
love it.
successful at anything else.
I love
I've got
that,
to take care
Andrea.
of me first. And
Yeah.
then, we let that emanate out into our little area, our 3 foot diameter of energy, and that way we can better serve other people.
Unpack that a little bit more, Andrea. That I must. That
Okay.
is huge. I want to hear a little bit more about I must. Why is it important for me to even intentionally know that? Because I might not be in that space where I must yet.
Yeah.
So help me understand what you mean when you say I must.
When I get too busy, I get scattered, I get irritable, and I'm not doing myself or anybody else any good. I get forgetful. I'll give you an example. I'm editing something for one of the people who've bought my services, and one day we were on a call, and she wanted me to be involved in something else, and I said, I cannot take on anything else right now. Right now, I need to do well what's already on my plate, including your book. So I said, I get too scattered when I start overloading the plate. And she said, I'm so glad you said that because I was watching you just say yes, 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 and taking on everything. And I was like, she's going to burn out. But then she's the very one
Yeah.
who wanted me to do something else. So it's
It's funny.
important to say no, no more. I have to take care of me. I have to fill my cup. And I love that visual of the teacup that's full and overspills onto the saucer, and you serve from your saucer. It's the same ingredients as the tea, but you can't give them your whole cup of tea or you'll have tea. So
Exactly. No,
that's
you're
why that's
so
why I must take care of myself using those self-care practices of Caritas, Caring Science, Heart Math.
That's awesome. I love how you describe that because I describe it as a loaf of bread and
Mm-hmm.
how we give out our slices of bread and before you know it you have nothing left in the loaf and then you go through a crisis and you're like empty. You have
Mm-hmm.
nothing to help you. So that's so important. And I think it's like a nurse thing almost because it's always the just like okay, yes, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do just always saying yes. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where I hit another one of my little moments, and I think I explained it in 2021 where I start losing meaning and joy in my
Mm-hmm.
heartbeats. And so I found that quote, and that quote like totally just sent me over the edge because you don't die when your heart stops beating. You die when your heartbeats have no meaning. And so I was saying yes, 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 so much where my heart was really probably trying to say, no, Charlene, you better not do
Mm-hmm.
that. You better not
Mm-hmm.
do that. And so what happens, I start losing the essence of who I
Mhm.
was. And I had to grip that
Yes.
really quick. And so I love what you said about that. Now, I am curious, what would Andrea tell someone out there today that may be struggling still post pandemic? We've gotten through, it's 2024, it's four
Mhm.
years out, but some people are still suffering. And so I'm wondering, do you have any encouragement, say for a nurse that feels like, I mean, she has definitely suffered from moral injury, but has not found her voice enough to say, I need some help or I need something. What would you say to someone just to encourage them if
If
they're
they
in that
haven't
spot?
yet said what they need, I'd want them to get still first and think about it. What is it that you need?
That's
Get
good.
real clear on what you need. Even if you're not real clear, let's just start talking and then let's unpack it to find out what is it that you need. And then I would help that person find what it is that they need. And if it meant I need to leave the hospital or the clinic, I said, well, let's look at the other places that you have to go. So many. We could look at the call center, we could look at the schools, we could look at convalescent hospitals and rehab places. We could, if they wouldn't want to go back into the hospital probably, but other types of nursing that don't involve the hospital. They could do home care. They could teach and
Yeah.
write. There's so many other
Yes.
things to do. So if you're burned out, you can't do it anymore, just do something else, something that feeds your soul. What feeds your soul? I think that's what I'd ask them to. When are you happiest? You could probably relate something in nursing to it.
Absolutely. I love that because what I also love is how expansive we are as nurses and how it's okay if you're feeling like that. It's okay. I mean, because some
No,
people have so much
not.
shame around it,
Nope.
but it's really okay
No
because
shame in my game.
hey,
No,
it's just it's your spirit trying to tell you, hey, I need you. I'm
yes.
calling you to do
Time to
something
move.
different. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's great. I love how you describe that. I'm wondering, can you remember a caring moment or something that really impacted you that you had to like integrate the caring science principles in?
Oh my gosh, so
I'm
many.
sure there's tons, but just share one that you think would be beneficial.
Okay. There was a strong nurse, a ICU nurse, gruff, and she would never take part in our little tea for the soul events. So that's what she called them. I can't be doing your little tea for the soul. I have this, I have that. She was kind of gruff, older, gray hair, just kind of disheveled. And so her appearance reflected her inside too. It was rather
Mm.
disheveled, and everything was just too much. And one day I went up there and I was setting up to do the tea for the soul there in the ICU. She came in before anybody else came in. So this almost makes me want to cry.
No, that's
And she
powerful.
said, I just want a hug. I don't want any cookies or tea or yeah, just give me a hug.
Oh, wow.
And I held her and I hugged her. She cried, had her head on my shoulder. It
Oh.
was quick. She probably gave me 60 seconds. Then she got up, wiped her eyes. She's like, don't tell nobody. And in the meantime, her little scrunchie had fallen off. It was all hanging down the bottom of her hair anyway. I picked it up and I, smoothed back her hair, which was surprisingly soft and smooth. It was the softest thing about her, I think. And I tightened it back up. And then she just kind of like hit me on the shoulder and said, thanks, kid.
Oh, how beautiful.
I know. It was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Well, she knew where to
Be
come. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I
Even
was
if
going
they
to
don't
say.
come, they
Yes.
know later where to come. Just like you plant her, teach a child the way they should go, and they grow up,
Yes.
they'll come back. So she knew which way to come.
Well, and I think that's what I love about carrying science being a way of being versus doing.
Hmm.
Your being, your authentic presence, Andrea, is powerful. And so other people can feel that. So she did know where to come, but because you have been doing the work. And so I think one of the beautiful things about carrying science, it invites the caregiver to take care of themselves first.
Hmm. We
Right?
must, right?
Right.
I mean, that
Because
is one
it
of the processes. That is a
yes.
carriage house process. You take care of yourself first.
Yeah, so help me understand some of the ways that you can take care of yourself. I would love for you to share for other people to hear.
I think you have to set boundaries for yourself because if
Mm.
you let other people run your life and tell you what to do all the time, you don't have time for what you need or want to do for yourself. And one of the reasons why I went ahead and retired early is because I was spending like 8.5 hours outside of myself in the corporate world, and everything was directed by the organization. You had to do this, you had to put in that, even coming home, doing work. And it wasn't like I got to actually be my authentic self. I did lead like the caring moments and heart math focused breathing and stuff in the beginning of shifts for the nurses. So we had maybe less than 5 minutes to pour into ourselves. But then the rest of those 8.5 hours, we were giving, giving, giving. And I started not only suffering physically, but emotionally. And I was like, I don't feel like I am whole inside anymore. So I think once that happens, once you feel like you're not able to feed your own soul, and you might have to remind me where the question, what the
Oh
question
no,
was.
no, just
Okay,
keep
because
flowing.
I'm still
Just
answering it. Okay,
yeah,
good.
you're answering it.
Okay, good. But we have to remember to do set boundaries, is what I was saying. And so the only way I could do that was I needed to leave that job. And I'm not saying that's right for everybody. You know, I've been there long enough to where I could. I qualified for it. And I said, I'm not going to spend the bulk of my life with somebody else's program. I need to run my program. And I think that that's one thing we have to do, is to realize that this is our life. You
Yeah.
know, nobody else can run this life of ours the way that we can. So we have to set our own boundaries, and we have to set our own goals and desires and make sure that we are fulfilled. We have to be selfish in a very good way, taking care of self.
Yeah, that's so good because I think, as a profession, or what we've learned how to do is to be
Less.
selfless. And so whenever you're asked to do something, you keep doing it and you keep doing at the detriment of really giving up on yourself. So what you said is so profoundly is about that saying no and setting those boundaries are so important because I mean honestly, you're the one that's going to be burned out or challenged or suffer
Mhm,
moral injury because you're not really looking at what you need or paying attention to what
mhm,
that little tug that you've been talking about, trying to tell you, what you need to shift, you need to do something different. But
mhm.
I just think that saying no is so powerful. Like I had to figure that one out because I'm a
Yes.
yes person and I love just making everybody happy
Hmm.
and feel great. But boy, when you keep doing that and then you start losing you,
Yep. No
that's
more
trouble.
bread slices. The
Yes.
other part, the other part of that is we have to say yes to us.
That's
Yes, what
it.
okay, if you don't want that, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And
Yes.
self-care is different from every for everybody. I love meditation. I love visualization. I love hot tubs. I like
Mm.
walks, along the creek. And I like to exercise. I like Pilates and stuff. So once you say no to those things that you don't want, then find out what you do want. Say yes to those things. Take care of yourself in that way.
That's awesome because the most important thing, like for instance, for you, Dr. Andrea, how are you able to be such a positive force, such a positive presence? Like, what are the other, so you meditate. What are other things that you do to help you to stay in alignment with who you really are?
I stay connected to God, connected to Source. I'm talking to Him all the time. About,
Yeah.
is this right? Why is this? What do I need? And I think making that personal relationship with spirit or your higher power or whatever you want, if it's the universe, whatever you want to call it, what works for you, staying connected, being in alignment, and listening to yourself and your body, your mind, and what is it that you need and want.
Well, I would also like to know, my dear, what are you working on? I'm going to start getting into some stuff of what you're doing now. I want to know a
Okay.
little bit more about the lit nurse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Most of it has been, I have taught some classes, have done some workshops, which I like. I kind of put in the editing as a side, but that's what I'm getting most of the inquiries for.
Mm,
And I'm so surprised because now in the age of AI and Grammarly and all these self-corrected things, I would think that people could just run their own papers through it, but I can't. I'm working on the book to make it short. I'm working on my third in my series book, and I use Grammarly a little bit, but it's not like it can write the book for you. If
right,
you do
right.
that, everybody can tell.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that people are coming to me and letting me edit their stuff as opposed to them just running it through. And I will have an editor as well once I finish. So that's my
Hmm.
main thing, is writing this book that I want out in June. I'm hoping I can do it because I joined another program for coaches,
Mm.
and it's called A Mighty Tiny Book. like 52, 100 pages.
Oh.
And yeah, it's really cool, but it's a little scary because you really have to put yourself into it. Like that, you don't just write the book yourself. We have a coach, and we have writing coaches and stuff to me, and it's a format. And the first thing they want to know is, who are you and why do you want to help people? So it gets into, like, when she interviewed me, she wanted to talk about my divorce and what that felt like, leaving the hospital, what that felt like, all these really kind of personal things. And she said, but that's what's going to bring people to you. They're going to believe you, and they're going to say, you went through all that. So you're qualified to help me get through it. So I'm working
Mm.
on that book too, which isn't, it's, I guess it's actually is my personal book, but it is formatted for that particular program, book to business,
Oh,
just to,
wow.
it's interesting. I
That
like it. So that
is.
book, and then the third one, and editing. And if they call me from the YMCA or the library to teach a heart math class, I'll go do that too. I took that other program for clinical providers for heart math. We had the resilience.
Yes. Yes.
So, and I didn't want to lose it because, remember, I had told you before, someone said, oh,
Yeah.
you can't take it with you when you leave Kaiser, but you said, talk to Robert Browning. Thank you very much, Charlene. I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so now I have the clinical provider one, and I have the resistance building one, resilience.
That's great because I mean, this information is so valuable for
Yes.
humanity, so I'm really glad that you're doing that as well. So I have a question. So how does carrying science impact you and your well-being as a practitioner, even now?
Probably even more so now because I have more time to practice it, more
Yes.
time to take care of myself and get healthier. I had had the issue with the sciatica and stuff that's pretty much resolved. So I just have more time to take care of me. And that's what caring science is about. It's about taking care of ourselves so that we have the love and energy and positivity to spill out and share with others.
Yeah, I think that's
That's so
beautiful
important.
because if we don't take care of self,
Uh-huh.
then how are we going to take care
Yeah.
of another person, another human being? So I absolutely love that. So anything, I love to get those three wisdom gems,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Andrea. So
We're there already.
we already there. We're already
How
there.
fun.
It's so great to have you on this show, of course. If you have not seen Andrea's podcast, she's been on a few times and she has been such a blessing to our audience. And so, before we end, though, because we are still talking about caring science and the impact that it's had on our lives, I just want to get three wisdom gems from you, Andrea. And I'm not going to limit it to whatever, just
Okay.
Andrea's top three wisdom gems. What would you
Well, the
share?
first one I actually got from you about being courageous.
Ah,
Yeah, so be courageous in your caring. Because some people will laugh at us. That's okay.
yes.
We know they're laughing at us. But so what? The very people, like that story I told you about
yes.
that older ICU nurse, the very one turning up her nose and looking at us like we were stupid and all that stuff, was the one who needed it.
Yes.
And thank God that I was courageous enough to keep on doing it so that she could be courageous enough to come and ask for the help. So be courageous in your caring. Go ahead and look soft. Go ahead and look woo woo or whatever it is. They need us. Those
Yes.
people who can't do it need us to do it. Um, when I was the manager at the clinic, I know that the nurses would look, and I was new to them, and because I had been in the hospital all those years, and I started doing the caring moments at the beginning of our meetings. We'd have the huddle, and we'd do our heart math reset at the huddle, and they were looking at me like, "Why are you wasting our time with this?" And so there was this one nurse who I said something to her about it, and I was like, I don't think they like it. And she said, please don't stop. We're just acting like we don't like it.
Mm,
Please don't stop. We need
yes.
it. Isn't that cool?
It is.
So,
It's super awesome because
so
like
I had these
people
courageous,
don't even know what they need sometimes. Like in that
right?
case, they don't really know what they need. They know that they're missing something. And then you come doing this stuff and they're like, "Oh my god, it's something I need." So if you stop doing it, they're like, "No, please, can you still do it?" So
Yeah,
that's great. I love it.
that
Be
is.
courageous.
Yeah. And then allow for the positive and negative emotions for yourself and for
Mhm.
everyone else. And it speaks to forgiveness. We not, oh, what you did was okay. It was okay that you disrespected me. I forgive you. No, it's not okay that they disrespected you. But you can still forgive them because you get to respond the way that you choose. You don't have to just react and be
Yeah.
mad or, tell them off or anything, but you can think about your response and choose the way you're going to respond. You can tell them what you think and tell them how it made you feel or how you felt when that experience happened. And then you can move on
Yeah.
because that's the forgiveness in it. Okay, that happened. I didn't like it. I forgive myself. I forgive her. We don't have to be best friends. But, I'm not going to let that negative energy change who I am or what I'm about. So that's what allows
Yes.
those positive and negative emotions.
That's
Um,
awesome.
Okay, forgive yourself and everyone else. And then the last of my three, believe in your power to transform yourself and the environment. We, like Dr. Watson tells us, we are the environment. And when we have that energetic field around us, that 3 foot, we impact that whole environment around. So anyone coming into us, believe me, you can transform the way things are happening. If you run into like a negative situation, we have all those practices that teach us how to turn it around, to stop and listen and think, what would be the best way to approach this, while they're going off, what would be the best way? You ask your heart, um, advise me on this. And we can transform that situation, can transform that atmosphere. So don't
Yes.
underestimate your ability, your power to transform yourself in the world around you.
I love that. That's beautiful. And then here's a bonus question I wanted to ask. How do you see hearing science for the future?
I see it living on. Julie's at the helm now, and she's got this new energy, and she's got all of us who she knows that we love her and we support her. And you're stepping up and Linda's stepping up to where you guys are going to be like, what are you going to be? Like,
Yeah,
what are
I
you going to be
became a
again?
faculty. I'm going to be one of the
Yes.
faculty. So I'm excited.
Yes.
This will be part of my journey probably until I don't have breath in my body because it has been such an impact. So whatever I can dive into, I mean, as you know, I'm going to also be retiring July 5th. And so I'm going to continue to do the work because I've seen so
Absolutely.
much transformation. So yeah,
Hmm.
yes,
Yep.
ma'am. I'm with you out there in the
Hmm.
battlefield. We will
Yep.
continue
So
to
I see
thrive.
you going big places. I
Hey.
haven't been invited to be faculty, but that's okay. You're there, so I'm there.
That's right. And I'm sure you probably will be there. I mean, you do it just so naturally. And so that's what's so beautiful. I think what's so beautiful about this is that Dr. Jean Watson, the visionary, she decided to be disruptive and do what she
Yeah.
did to shift this whole, theory of caring. And that now all of us in our own way, unique way, is just living and then impacting all of those that we're attached to, which is so beautiful because that means that a broader audience will be touched because all of us are able to be our unique, authentic,
Hmm.
beautiful, powerful selves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I
Mhm.
know it's time already, but I will leave you to have some closing words and how people can get in touch with you if they would love to do that.
Okay. First, thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you invite me again. I'm like, really? She must actually like me being on her show if I
I
get to do it again.
do.
Thank you for that. I love speaking with you, connecting with you. I can hardly wait to see you again. And I'm going to be at that retirement party to the best of my ability, the
Yay.
Lord willing, as we say. Lord
Yes.
God, say so the same. I will be there. Um, so you can contact me at litnurse.com, litnurse.com, www.litnurse.com. And I actually have an umbrella from the fitness. I've been doing mind body fitness or mind body spirit wellness for a long time. So I started that under a program called holypower.com, WHOLLY power.com. And on there, you can buy my books at a discounted rate. And on the Lit Nurse one, it takes you to Amazon. You can buy it from there. You can buy my books anywhere. You can even text me and I'll make an arrangement.
Yay.
Yeah. And my courses are on there too, the litnurse.com
Okay.
website. So
Okay,
I'm
that's
very
awesome.
easy to reach. I've got a YouTube, you know.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I hope,
Thank
listening
you.
audience, you enjoyed Dr. Andrea. And please go back and look at some of her older clips that we have in our YouTube channel. So, subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can get alerts to all of this powerful content that we're putting out. And I also just thank you and happy Nurses Week to all.
Thank you. I love your YouTube channel, by the way.
I want to thank you for tuning in to another inspiring episode of When the Moment Chooses You. I'm your host, Coach Charlene, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Each journey we've shared today is a reminder that when the moment chooses you, the possibilities are endless.